I wanted to see how easy it would be to make a Poolrooms environment in Unreal Engine. Only problem is, I'm a complete noob, but I've never let being underqualified stop me before. There's a few ways you can make an environment. One of my favorite ways is by using the cube grid tool. This tool allows you to literally block out your level, kinda like Minecraft. You can pull blocks, push them, and a whole bunch of other tricks to make basic shapes for your level. Another way you can make a level is by spawning shapes and placing them around the map. Both have different use cases, but I ended up using the cube grid tool as it was quicker and I felt importing textures was easier with the cube grid tool because it didn't stretch the textures on the side. I know there's a way to fix that in the details, but I really didn't feel like messing with all that just yet. Now, for some reason, I decided it was a good idea to use an 8K texture for my assets, and my PC barely survived. I originally downloaded it for the Blender Donut tutorial, but I'm realizing that VFX artists and game devs have very different needs when importing textures. Realizing what I had done, I went back and grabbed the 1K texture. This looked great and ran a million times better. My second issue was when I got my material on, the tiles were too big, but after a quick search through the internet, I found out that I can resize my material by adding a text coordinate to the UV port of all my textures. This was a super useful tip and honestly was something I had been trying to figure out since the first video. Now with a properly sized tile, I was super excited about this achievement and immediately started experimenting with different textures. I imported a carpet texture, plaster wall texture, and even a couch texture. The next part to any Poolrooms level is the pool. Unreal Engine has quite a few different ways to achieve a water effect. The first method I tried was actually the water plugin Unreal Engine provides. Not gonna lie, this was probably the most beautiful water I had ever seen in a game. However, I feared how I would implement this water, as it seemed the more copies I added, the slower and slower the game would run. I'm sure there's ways to optimize it or have it shut off while it's not being seen, but I wasn't really sure how to do all that. So before I jump all into learning how to optimize the plugin, let's at least check out the other methods. The second method was the Niagara fluid simulation. This plugin even allows for the water to react to your body, as well as other objects. I so desperately wanted this method to work, but I, for the life of me, could not get the logic to work. I don't know if it's because my character was invisible, but I just couldn't recreate what this tutorial was showing. So I decided to move on to the third method. The third method is the more traditional route. I went to make a material, and with the help from this tutorial, set up logic to create the ripple system that would be applied to my shade of blue. This worked great and seemed to not affect the frames too bad, though I ran into a weird issue where even after I deleted all the water assets in my level, my game would still be running at 60 frames per second instead of 120 like I normally get. However, when I got back on the next day, it was back to 120 frames per second. Maybe some of you guys can let me know what I did wrong in the comments. With the water material seemingly running smooth, I figured this would be the method I would use, at least for now while I'm still new. Now, let's see if we can get some props imported. The Poolrooms is a very empty environment, but you can occasionally find things like railings, ladders, and even pool floaties. I loaded up Fab, which is a marketplace where you can get tons of free assets. There wasn't too many options, but they did have at least one railing that I ended up liking. I put the railing in, put the default metal on it, and I just didn't like how it looked. I felt as though the railing took away attention from the pool, so I ended up taking it away. But I at least figured out how to import assets from Fab, which did make me feel more confident. I mean, I do love sculpting as much as the next guy, but with me being a solo dev, I'm gonna need as much help from the marketplace as I can get. I know there's tons of devs who pride themselves on sculpting all original assets for their game, but I'll let you guys know right now I am not that guy.
You're not that guy.
And I love when I can snag a good asset. When it comes to game development, every dev has their strengths. Some devs are tech wizards and can code things like AI or complex combat systems. These are like those guys in Minecraft who know how redstone works and end up making ChatGPT in Minecraft. Then there's devs who can craft beautiful environments and give the game an art style, much like the players in Minecraft who will spend hours on end creating intricate buildings and landscapes for multiplayer maps. I'm making a lot of Minecraft references today. Anyway, this is often where I found my favorite part of game development to be. I love placing down walls and lights and putting intricate details into a room. I love making the audio for my levels and bringing a level's atmosphere to life. And now that I mention it, that's one of the things this room needs the most. To import sounds into the game, I was gonna need to drag a sound file into the level. And I figured since I've already made the Poolrooms ambience before, I might as well use it again. After converting my files into MP3, I drug them into my content table, placed them into my scene, and then set the sounds to loop. I added some wind for the outside, the sound of waves crashing, some general ambience droning in the background, as well as breathing to make the player feel alive. Here's how it all sounded together. I was super happy that I got this working, as I knew sound design is one of the most important parts of any horror game, if not the most important part. There was a few more sounds I wanted to implement, though it's gonna take a bit more work. One sound I wanted to add was another breathing effect, but this time for when you're sprinting, obviously to make the breathing feel more realistic. I also wanted to add the sound of your clothes swooshing when you move. Both of these sounds are gonna have to be added in the blueprint somehow, but I'll learn how to do that next week. Also in my playtesting, I came across an issue where my character could see through walls if they crouched, got against a wall, and looked down. I'm not sure if this was always a bug or one I accidentally caused, but either way I ended up solving this issue by scooting my camera forward in the capsule, then raising my field of view by 5. This ended up working and I could no longer clip through the walls. I'm hoping this won't cause any more issues in the future, but we'll see. We're only a few weeks into development and we've already got a semi-functional character model and an environment with gorgeous water and sounds to go with it. One of the next things I'd be interested in learning next week would be some type of sequencing, like a door opening, a light turning on, a very simple function that the player can activate, as well as the improvements to my character's sounds that I mentioned earlier. But I want to thank you if you got this far, and thank you for all the support you guys have given the last few weeks. I had no idea that so many of you would be interested in watching my journey, but I'm glad you were. I love game development, and having such an awesome community of people willing to help me learn is inspiring. So do comment down below if you have any comments, questions, or critiques. You guys had some great suggestions last time, and I know you'll have more with this one. And if you're interested in watching me build these levels live, I will be streaming the process on Twitch. Just follow my channel, DETHURA Games, and you'll get notified when I go live. But that's enough from me. I'll see you guys on the next Unreal update.